We are back with another podcast. This is, oh man, what episode are we on? 9? We're doing it. It's actually happening.
9.
Episode 9.
Happening.
Yay.
The episode that comes before 10.
So here we are. I've got Highland Pickles, Eat Your Meats, Snazzy Bastard, and I'm the Sunny Machine. Quick introductions today. That's it. So today's topic is going to be something I think most streamers struggle with. This happens at every level until you've kind of hit like a really nice place with your community and your growth where you can kind of play mostly anything you want. Or if you like don't mind losing half your viewership because you change games or something. So today we're talking about game selection. We do have a podcast on this subject with other people. And it's an earlier episode. I don't know which one. So, but I think today the things we're going to talk about are going to be a little bit more relevant to the current state where Twitch is. And I'm actually excited to hear because I think... okay, well, I'm just going to call you guys out right now. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
You each have...
Call me out, why don't you?
You each have kind of your own approach to game selection, and you've all seen success and failure with doing certain things. So I think each one of you is going to have really good insight. I've had a lot of failure, even on things that were supposed to work. So my perspective is going to be more like, I chose a game everybody said to play and nobody showed up.
It's not failure, it's places for growth.
Okay.
Yeah. Opportunities for growth. Yeah.
Opportunity.
Let's all do that. Let's all take a moment and define what game selection means to you individually. So let's start with Snazzy. Which way do I point? This way. Snazzy.
Hi.
Tell us your philosophy and approach.
So, being the hip hobbyist, the serious hobbyist that I am, and not relying on Twitch for living, I tend to take the shotgun approach, which is I just fire a bunch of games off, and then if one of them sticks. Honestly, though, I hate to say it, my approach is Souls. Difficult games and Souls likes and things like that, Metroidvanias.
You're selling yourself way too short there.
I know, but like at the same time, that's honestly where most of my success has been difficult games.
That's not what I asked though.
And
I want
Souls
you. We don't need to talk about your successful game and.
Oh, you want some failures?
I want everything. So like. Take us on a jersey of Snazzy. You started streaming and
Jersey of Snazzy?
The jersey?
the Snazzy Shore.
The journey. Tell us your journey going from just streaming whatever in the beginning to how you think about today. Like, what's the difference between your first time ever streaming? Chat's not gonna let me live the Jersey thing down.
It won't. That'll be Snazzy.
I was born in Jersey.
I'll make a Jersey.
Yeah.
I live seconds away from Jersey, so it's fine. Actually, so the very first, believe it or not, okay, so here's some Snazzy lore for all of you who maybe don't know.
Give us
the first game that I ever technically streamed, that I did some test streams of, and the first game that I planned to stream. This was back in the day when I was like, I'm gonna take Twitch by storm. Yeah, I'll be popular in a week. I planned to stream Anthem, which that speaks for itself, right? That's a failure to launch even before you factor Twitch into it, right? Actually, the very first thing I streamed on my channel was Anthem, because that's what I thought I was going to get on the ground floor on Anthem. And boy,
wow, what a choice there! That was tell us,
yeah, that was
what was that based on?
Been,
what was that based on?
I like robots. That's really like
Easy.
I like robots.
Which should
So much
serve
research.
which should serve as a cautionary tale. Just because you like something doesn't mean it's gonna go over well with the audience.
True.
Like, the thing is, for me, it started out with games like that. It started out with Anthem, and I thought about, maybe I'll stream World of Warcraft. thought about all this, and then I kind of settled into what if I stream games that not everyone is playing, right? And I've had some successes, had some failures. I had to actually quit Axiom Verge about 2 streams in because literally nobody showed up. Like nobody cared. Like I thought it was gonna be like, oh, it's this indie game that's like straight up like ripping off of Super Metroid. Oh, there's got to be like fans for this, right? No one showed up. Literally no one cared. So I had to drop it. And like I said, honestly, the games for me that kind of like I said, where I hit my stride was Dark Souls. That was for me. But that came from, again, having to try multiple different things. So I started with like experimenting with like, oh, hey, if I stream Anthem, what if I stream like an MMO? I never actually got around to stream an MMO because I realized I wouldn't want to. Like I realized that that's a whole separate commitment that I just wasn't willing to invest in.
Yeah.
Because I already play MMOs, right? But now I'd have to play an MMO but for an audience, right? Which is different than me just, putzing around on an MMO, right? You have to be entertaining at all times, right?
True.
So, and then, like I said, I kind of meandered my way through a few games until I landed into Darkest Dungeon and Dark Souls. Those were the big ones for me. But I think the biggest takeaway is it still very much depends on what you're doing. Like, so for example, if because I was doing this as a hobby and because I could take it slow and I didn't have to stress over my numbers, I could start out in a category like Darkest Dungeon that had plenty of people playing it and stream for a couple of weeks to 2 people, to 3 people, and then eventually build to 4 people. I could take it easy and get to bigger numbers simply by persistence, by showing up, every time I was scheduled to stream, keeping my schedule and just showing up. So for me, that's what it was. And being a hobbyist allowed me to kind of what's the word for it? It allowed me to bat above my average, as it were. That's the expression, right? Like it allowed me to hang out in game categories that weren't necessarily right for my size, where I would normally get drowned out by a whole bunch of other people playing.
Well, that can be a good thing at the beginning because then you have a place to go make mistakes and be bad at streaming.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. A lot of stuff that I even do today, like to this day, 2 years later, was honed on the early Darkest Dungeon stream.
Yeah, I some of my clients who were really struggling with viewership, I'm like, you need to be good at streaming first. I just sent them off to go work on their skills with no viewers in games that I knew weren't going to necessarily make them take off because they're not even ready for that. They couldn't handle 100 people in their chat if it happened. They weren't ready for it. So sometimes you have to give people, like, you have to give yourself room to kind of work on things, and streaming is such a public thing that it's almost better to make your mistakes where nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Or make mistakes where a small enough group are watching where they can kindly point you in the right direction.
True.
And go like, hey, this isn't working. Hey,
True.
this is working. Hey,
That
don't
is
do
better.
this.
True. Okay, so that's a good little snapshot. So let's move. I do want to talk to you about other things, Snazzy. We'll get to that. But let's move to hot pickles because I want to end with meats because I think her philosophy on this is going to open up a lot of doors for discussion. So
Have a philosophy?
yes, you do. You
Okay,
you
I'm gonna think of
do.
one. Okay, hold on.
There's a lot to learn from you. Pressure's on. No, pickles. So you're kind of like on your journey with game selection, and I see that you've made some progress.
Yeah.
So do the same thing. Start with where you started, how you were thinking, and how you.
So my mentality when I started was like big games means that's where the attention is, so you should go to the big games, right? Which is not really what you should do. Like I started when Monster Hunter World was still like really popular. Like tens of thousands of people were still watching it, and my first stream ever was streaming from my PlayStation 4 playing Monster Hunter World and just like seeing what would happen. Like that's my head said that's where I should be because that's what I wanted to play and that's where all the people were. And then, nothing ever came of that. So I moved on to different games. And like game selection is something that I've like wrestled with a lot throughout my Twitch journey, I guess you could call it. And like I was a lot of me starting Twitch was to get through my backlog of games. So like I have this list of like 1,000 games that I own and haven't played, and I wanted to like work through that. And then
That's like an excuse not to make any decisions.
yeah,
Exactly. I'm just gonna do this thing I want to do.
yeah. But then like I
That
learned
can work.
like
It can work.
how I learned like timing more than anything on a lot of the games, and there are games I'm sure I'm never going to get to off of that list, but part of me wants to like still make a point to get through them eventually, all of the other games. But right now I'm focused on picking the right games at the right time more than
Timing is
anything
important.
yeah.
Okay. Meats, it's your turn. And I have no context for your journey. Because when you and I started talking about your stream, you were already kind of at a level and had figured a lot of these things out. So I'm curious about where you came from.
So I think I approach game selection a little bit from an analytical perspective. So I think the hardest part is getting that base group of people and figuring out how to get that first like 5 to 10 people. And once you get that first 5 to 10 people that will literally come in and watch paint dry, then you have a little bit more flexibility. So my approach is number one, picking games that I like. And that's really important. You don't want to stream a game that you're not interested in.
I have comments on that.
I take a lot of
I'll
time
hold it.
to consider things like how many viewers are in the channel near the time that I plan on streaming. What are some of the competing streams? Are they part of a community that knows me? Because that's also something to consider. We don't want to assume that people are going to raid, but if you know that a streamer that has something that they're streaming that is similar to what you're going to stream, that you know of them, that might be a pipeline for you. I also look at the difference between things like streamer interest versus viewer interest. So if you see a category where there's 100 streamers streaming to 3 viewers apiece, that may not be a really good viewership game versus, if there's like 10 or 15 streamers and you're going to be number 3 based on your like watch paint dry people, that's a really good choice too. So I kind of approach it that way, and I try to have at least a plan in place and really try to sell that plan over time as well. So if I know that there's games that I have planned in the future, I try to kind of let the community know what those plans tend to be, but also be willing to make changes. I tend to have a game in my back pocket if, say, that it's a game that I was planning on playing that it's just totally saturated that night randomly, and that totally happens, where I might switch and play a different game that I know is fairly evergreen for me. So I guess I do kind of treat it like almost a weird math puzzle in a way, if that makes any sense. But there's a lot of pieces that you can take into consideration when you're trying to choose a game. And it's never a guarantee either. So I could play the same game 3 nights in a row and have 20 viewers one stream, 40 viewers the other stream, and 70 viewers usually from a raid on that other stream, right?
Right, you can't.
So you do have to take into consideration that sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen.
Looking at like one stream is not going to give you enough information about what it's doing for your channel either.
I can't hear Sunny.
Can anyone else?
Oh,
I was gonna say,
muted at this
Lol.
like,
Like, I feel like Sunny's talking.
So I am talking. Looking at one stream is not going to give you enough information. Then you really have to give yourself a good amount of time giving something a shot. A lot of people will stream something once and their viewership will be 10 viewers less than normal or whatever, a percentage less, and they'll feel like, oh, this isn't working. But if they had just kept streaming it, they might have met more people in that community in that game. I think there's a bit of fatigue because a streamer will spend, let's say, 6 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours streaming that game, and look at the numbers and think, oh, this is such a waste. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have spent 6 to 8 hours streaming that game. Maybe it would have been better for you to do it for 3 or 4 hours, and then do it again for 3 or 4 hours. Take that 8 hours and put it into 2 streams. Keep doing that and see how it has an impact. So game selection, like what you're doing, the category you're streaming in, plus the amount of time you're committing to it, and allowing yourself to have enough time to go forward. And I do want to make a small comment. This is maybe a side topic, but I think this is kind of important. You said you have to play a game that you're interested in or that you like, but I find a lot of streamers don't know themselves well enough to know what they will and won't like. It's
Okay,
like
let me
like
correct myself then.
Okay.
I'll correct myself. You have to approach the game in a way that you can offer meaningful interaction with it. How's that?
Yeah. Because I find a lot of streamers refuse to stream X game because they think they won't like it, and then I force them to do it anyway, and then it works for them. They grow their channel off of it, and they like the game. And they thought I wasn't going to like this game, and a lot of times that's what people want to watch. They want to watch you play something you don't know that you think you might not like, and then maybe like it because it's their favorite game.
Yeah.
There's this, like, you should be open-minded about what you're going to do and try to take an approach that's, well, I haven't played that yet. Is it any good? No, I don't think I'm gonna like that game. I don't really want to play. You're deciding not to do something that might work for your stream and your channel based upon just like your first impression, I don't know, of a trailer or the people who told you the game is good and you just don't care. I find that the streamers who find a reason not to do something just because they don't feel it, like they're listening to their gut a little too much. You know?
You can enjoy playing any game on stream if you enjoy the stream.
That is
Right.
also true.
Like I'm lucky that I like the only genres of game I don't like are sports games. Right? Like I'm pretty much up for trying any game that I come across. And even if it's a game that kind of sucks and I don't like it, like I'll still have fun on stream with the people that are there, you know?
That can be the stream. The
Yeah.
stream could be like
meme games are a thing.
the game
for
is
sure.
bad.
Yeah.
Look how bad this game. That is your stream. Is like show it your reaction to how terrible this game is.
Your stream is just ragging on games. Yeah, absolutely.
That doesn't.
I've seen people make careers off of it.
Yeah. It's like if you're a product reviewer, you want to be able to review products, not just the ones you're interested in, but like the ones that might be bad too. That's like if you're going to be a streamer, you should be willing to stream games that you might not like. If you just choose your game based on how you think you're going to feel playing the game, then you're not thinking about the stream first. You're thinking about yourself first, and that's going to make it much harder for you to make decisions that make the stream grow. Does that kind of make sense?
And like 90% of the people who are there for you, not the game. You know, like the game serves as like a meaningful backdrop, and it depends on the game sometimes. Like Dark Souls and Darkest Dungeon, like these games, people want to see you.
They want to see you play
tackle
that
the
game.
game.
Yeah, but I think there is a place for a stream that is about presenting, like even a story-driven game. There is a place for doing a really good presentation, like you're watching a movie together. Like you can have a stream that's really good because the streamer is allowing the story to immerse everybody. Everybody's into the game, the story of the game, or the adventure of the game, or whatever. And like there's games that are really good at this, like the not Left 4 Dead, Last of Us, and Uncharted. The Uncharted series is incredibly cinematic, and if the streamer can put on a good show with the gameplay with that game, you can be like really good at Uncharted, so good that the audience feels like they're watching a film almost, and you allow the game to kind of shine. There's like, I find a lot of streamers will step all over the cutscenes, and they'll like the game becomes like too secondary. It's like you're playing this incredible story, and you're over there talking about how you know whatever personal story or thing that's going on in your life that has nothing to do with the game during a cutscene. The game is so quiet nobody can even hear it. So I think there's a good balance you have to strike. So not only when you choose the game, like if you're going to play a game that's very heavily story driven and cinematic and immersive, you should try to present that immersion. You should try to allow the audience to be as immersed into the game as you are. And so you want to kind of not talk over the cutscenes and stuff like that. Or if you're going to play Darkest Dungeon, where it's just like a grind on repeat, that game is fine. You can just talk over it the entire time. You can talk about whatever. So anyway, that was kind of the side tangent, but
you brought up a really good point that I know you wanted to talk about, which is like translation of viewership. And that's a big challenge sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so
you're
talking about
go
that,
ahead.
you mean like you're playing Bloodborne and then you move to Super Mario Galaxy. Is that what you mean? Like trying to translate the Bloodborne viewers over to Super Mario Galaxy?
Exactly. So I think that's a consideration that you have to take is if you're going to play variety, how varied is your variety, if that makes sense. And, realizing that there are some people that are there for that equation, right? You plus game equals watch, right? So maybe if you take out the game part, then they're going to go and watch someone else that's the equation of that game. Right. So you're the person that's going to transition them from you plus game equals watch to you plus other game equals watch. But I think that there's certain games and communities where that's a little bit more challenging than others, and just kind of taking that into consideration when you're picking games. Is this a category that I'm going to focus a lot on, or am I willing to realize that this person or these 5 people, they're only coming when I'm playing this type of game, and that's okay, right?
And there's definitely some games that are, and this is where the research bit comes in, right? We're looking up a game and how the fandom is, for example. Even to an extent, Souls is like this. I was actually thinking of Undertale as the prime example of this, but Souls games have this too, where there's definitely a contingent of viewers who will watch anybody play Souls or Souls-like games, Dark Souls. But the minute you move to any other game, you'll never see those people again because they are there specifically to watch Dark Souls. They are there to specifically watch Undertale. Also, never stream Undertale. But yeah, like it's.
I mean, you can, but be warned.
You can, but be warned. Yeah.
Be warned with Undertale.
Yeah, or just turn chat to like follower sub only or something. Yeah.
If you take away anything from today, let it be that.
Yeah, the transitional thing is something you do have to take into consideration. And that doesn't mean that you can't go from Bloodborne to Super Mario Galaxy or whatever game. It just means you have to know these people are not coming with you. And if you want to keep your stream relevant to those people, you need to figure out a way to either get them deeper into your community like Discord, and try to develop relationships with those people that are a little bit, bridge that gap. If they're only there for the Soulsborne, Bloodborne thing, you're going to have to do some extra work if you want to make those people support you outside of those kinds of games. And there are ways to do that. It's not just like only stream Bloodborne, only stream Soulsborne. Maybe you should do those games, just make sure you continue to do those games on a regular enough basis that those people don't forget about you.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to speak to that. So like thinking of a thematic day or something like that, right? Where if you have a community that's really into retro, like I do retro Tuesdays, typically I'm taking a break a little bit, but they know that this is the time where you do a Dark Souls Saturday or whatever, you have that kind of place where they can stay, continuously ingrained in your community, and maybe you will convert a few people over. And that can be a way to do it if you find that a game is performing really well, but you want to spread out. Don't spread out like 180. Kind of do like a 45-degree turn, something like that.
I've definitely done the 180 thing to my detriment.
Yeah,
Go from
it
one
hurts.
game to totally different genre.
Yeah,
Well, that could work sometimes depending on your audience, because like sometimes you could definitely see like how to best phrase this without sounding ridiculous. Like sometimes you'll be playing a game and you'll notice there's somebody who's there for that game, but you have them hooked. You're not reeling them in yet, but you have them hooked, right? They're interested, right? Sometimes playing a completely opposite game the next day, they'll show up and go like, "Hey, I've never seen this. What is this?" And they'll get interested in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen. But you have to really read the room at that point.
a lot of viewers will just show up to say hi, no matter what you're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, I think that's
And
kind of
I've-
what Meats was saying with like the 45-degree turn instead of a total 180.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the other thing is
kind of
that
like slalom through it.
the other thing that can help is you each have some sort of consistency to your channel. One of the things that Snazzy does, and sometimes the thing that's your consistency item or stream is your weakest thing, but if you grow that, you see the rest of your content also kind of go up with it. So, Snazzy, you do model building, the Gundam thing, which is incredibly unique on Twitch. There's
What a nerd.
like how many people are streaming Fortnite versus how many people are streaming the Gundam model building. It's less than 5 people probably.
I will go to bat for that community though. There are some pretty hefty streamers in that category.
But
Like
there's
it's
not a lot of them.
deceptively large. Yeah, no, there's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely not Fortnite levels of.
No, it's
of-
not even like Darkest Dungeon levels. Like how
It's
many
not.
people
It's
are streaming?
shenanigans, yeah.
How many people would you say are streaming?
I'd say there's about 3 or 4 really big names, and then maybe a dozen or so of us smaller guys who.
Okay,
Or,
so it's
like,
less than 20,
kind of well
20
known.
people.
I would say yeah, less
So it's
than
kind
20
of a
like
niche.
big guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely like
to
a
the
niche.
match. Yeah.
And
But
as
it's
you've
something that you do like every week that everybody like can depend on that happening every Saturday.
Which I haven't done in like 3 weeks because of just ridiculous stuff going on. So whoops.
but
But that's definitely another way to keep people, right? And it can be really challenging to do like non-game streams, and I do them from time to time, but it always feels weird. But if you want to focus on community building, right, and ingraining that community, sometimes just having something that's a bit more community and relaxed focus can be really helpful from that perspective. So I do sculpting streams sometimes.
yeah.
I feel awkward doing just chatting streams, but some people really flourish in just chatting streams.
But
Well, you
that's
you
the
also
thing,
do
a lot
the-
of.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say like
You go. You go.
you go. No, you go.
No, you go.
No,
All
you
right,
go.
I'll go.
I'll go. No, listen, real quick. All I was gonna say is a lot of those other art streams and like even my like model building streams, like we like to pretend that I'm model building. We like to pretend that we're doing art, but really they're just chatting streams with a thing going on in the background.
Yeah,
Right,
because we're too
that's really-
awkward to just sit there and stare at people.
Yeah,
Okay, so Pickles, you do art. You have an art
Yeah.
stream where you
I
draw,
draw.
but not just that's not it. That's not the end of the story. Okay, you also you're doing a community comic.
Correct.
Where the chat and your viewers get to give input on what happens in the story, and you publish that comic
Yes.
so that everyone can read it. And so you're the artist, but the writer is kind of like everybody.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. And it's like a fun little thing, which I'm behind on right now, but I'm just busy. But the whole idea was every single chapter of the comic that comes out, at the end, the main characters, they'll have to do something. And then I put it to the people in chat to choose what that is, and I'm not allowed to like argue with it or nothing. Like I just whatever they decide, that's how the next chapter starts. Like we're just going right out the gate with that next chapter with,
Yeah.
whatever
so,
they voted.
So you and Snazzy can answer this question. Meats does this too, but she does it in a different way. As you've seen that art stream kind of grow, your viewership's pretty much grown by like 30 to 40%, Pickles, since you started doing the art streams. And you haven't been doing them that long, a couple of months. Snazzy, since you started doing the model building, those streams have almost doubled as well. since you started doing the Gundam, the model building streams.
Yeah, which was a while ago.
And would you say your gaming streams have been impacted by that growth?
To an extent, yes, but not as much. I think the gaming streams have more impacted the crafting stream. The crafting stream has impacted gaming. What the crafting stream has done for me was it keeps the people who are like kind of what Meats was saying. Those people who will like watch you paint and watch paint dry, like those kinds of people, like the deep community, if you will. That's who those streams really are for. It's to keep those people in touch because a lot of times when you're like you said before, when you're playing a game, right, there's stuff going on. It can be hard to chat with folks when there's a game going on in the background. But when there's something like putting together a model going in the background, I could take however much time I need to interact with the people who are there, and the people who will show up are often, very often, people who are looking for that interaction with me. Like I would say, out of the if I have 20 or so people watching the crafting stream, 3 people max are there for the model. 3 people are there for the actual Gunpla who are like, oh, give me some tips on Gunpla. What do I need to do? Like, how do you deal with this while you're doing Gunpla? 3 people maybe. The other 17 are there to like you said, to say hello, to chat, to catch up, to interact with the streamer, right?
Well, I was going to say, it's like roots. You're like getting your community to have more roots, more connectedness.
That's a good way to put it. Yep.
And I think those roots actually do have a greater impact on your gaming streams, because those people feel way more connected to you because of those.
So here's the analogy I would use. So if you ever watched people when they're redoing sidewalks or when they're putting cement down, they put wood, right? They put wood outlines to hold the cement in until it dries, and then they yank the wood out later. That's what those crafting streams are for me. They're a little boundary to hold the kind of community together so it settles. And so like somebody who will come and watch me play Bloodborne, for example, and then the next day will show up and be like, well, this isn't Bloodborne, but you're doing something I've never seen before. Let me stick around for a little bit. And there's a better chance they'll come back the next day when I'm playing something completely different, like Bloodborne Kart or something. I don't know. Whatever, like...
Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and okay, so Meats, you do this instead of as a stream, you do it conceptually. So
Okay.
you have more like of a conceptual take on, you create roots through your general interaction with your stream theme, and you spend a lot of time talking with people, and you do stuff in Discord. Like you have more of a holistic take on this, so it doesn't have to be like I'm an artist stream or a crafting stream. It can be just your general attitude towards stream. You have like a very serious perspective. Like you try to have affirmations. You have these consistency things that kind of build the community around these concepts, and then you also do like consistent things like the Retro Tuesday, or you challenge yourself by playing games that are hard for you. So like these things are people are like they can latch on to those things and identify that this stream is what it's about. And I think that in a similar way, the model building and the art streams do that same thing. They just do it in a more direct way, whereas your stream is holistically doing it like as a thing, as an entire stream. So when you've done like art style streams and stuff, how have they gone for you?
They got really well. It's mostly just I'm lazy, and so I sculpt, and I've done like 3 or 4 sculpting streams from time to time, and they tend to be close to similar in attendance, and you get a couple new people in too, because they're just like, what are you doing? What's going on? And I do like the community aspect, but you're absolutely right. I like to have really kind of downplayed but consistent themes throughout stream. So I think it's tough to go full on thematic because that can be like overwhelming and like off-putting sometimes to new people.
Oh yeah.
But if you have these sort of minor things that will sometimes come up and people are like, what's going on here? You know, like the dad jokes are just funny, right? I mean, everyone knows what a dad joke is, but if you have a little spin on it, right? But people have control over that in chat. I do think that's really kind of helpful and makes people sort of feel like they're hanging out with goofy friends, right? And I do think too, taking into consideration who you are from your identity too, and really projecting what that means to your community can be a bit of a challenge too. And my presenting gender probably has a part to do with that. I actually work really hard to almost be different in terms of like things like gun shows and dad jokes, like things that are sort of like very low key, like down with the patriarchy, but not obvious, if that makes sense. And I think that really fosters a kind community and makes people, be like, oh, okay, she's a streamer. She's just a streamer, right? And not that there's anything wrong with being more, different than that. It's just, trying to create that theme, create that community space the way you want it to be, which brings those types of people in.
That's good. You guys have some really good insight here, and I hope this is helpful for people who are listening. Let's talk about dead games for a bit. So, a lot of people will... This is like a bigger topic, I think, than most people are expecting. So, let's just define what a dead game typically is seen as, and how that general definition can actually be wrong and right at times. So what do you guys define? Let's start with Snazzy. What do you define as a dead game?
Can I just say right off the bat before we start, like the one thing that pisses me off more than anything else, and this is where you said like there's different definitions for it, like what a dead game means to the layman versus what it means to a streamer. The one thing that I hate is whenever anything like for example Fall Guys or Among Us, whenever they tweet anything, and the first 3 people will be responding with dead game as the response. I want to just yeet those people into the sun. Oh my god. I think
don't throw
for
them
our
my way.
purposes, yeah. For our purposes, I think for a streamer, right? Anybody who streams on any kind of platform, a dead game is simply a game without viewers, a game that nobody watches, right? A game that no one seemingly has no interest in watching, right? If you're looking at a game category night after night, and it has literally no viewers in it for 5-6 nights in a row, besides the community that you bring, you're probably not going to meet anybody.
Okay,
playing that game.
Let's not go too deep. Let's get Pickles' take.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Like, if there are no viewers in it, and it's not like a cult classic, you're probably not going to grow from it. So, as a streamer, yeah, it's considered a dead game. But I will say, no, there are a lot of games that are dead categories that don't stay dead forever, because they're like updates come out, and with so many early access titles, like full launches happen.
Yeah. Okay. Meats.
So that like brings waves back.
Yeah, I agree with Pickles. I think you have to take into consideration like updates or sales. Sales can kind of revitalize a game for a short period of time. So one of the other factors.
Pass.
Yeah. One of the other factors that I take into consideration is the followers rate, right? So you don't want to just look at how many people are watching that game at that point. You also want to consider how many people have followed that game. So if it has, 300,000 followers, but there's one person streaming it, you might have some people that are really interested in the game. It's just the streamer interest is low too. So it's not a black and white thing either. So taking into consideration different factors, some games are definitely totally absolutely 100% dead, but some really have this it's like the Princess Bride, like mostly dead.
I've
not dead yet.
I've had conversations with streamers where I told them to go play a game, and their response was, "Isn't that game's dead? No one's there." And I'm like, it's a deception. You think like you're streaming right now. You're streaming whatever game. Pick a game, whatever game you're streaming, and you've got 3 viewers. Okay, so you go stream. I'm gonna use the one that I always use that you guys all know because I've told you all to stream it. One of you has. What game is it?
Bayonetta.
Yeah, Bayonetta.
One of you has. I wonder who.
Snazzy's played it. So this is an example of what I've actually told people go play Bayonetta, and they'll say no one's there. It's dead. Why would I go stream that? And I'm like, well, because you have 5 viewers. Like if you go into Bayonetta with 500 viewers, you'll probably get close to the exact same amount of new viewers and followers if you time it right. Playing Bayonetta just randomly might not be a good idea, but if you play it at the right timing, maybe Bayonetta 3 it's about to come out.
It's gonna be more interested in it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a bigger streamer is streaming it right now, and that's a good time for you to kind of like slide into the category. Maybe there's a sale on Steam, or there's a free copy somewhere, and maybe there's a sale on the Switch or whatever. There are good timings to stream a game like Bayonetta where there's only 2 other people playing the game, and especially if it's a blind playthrough and all of that. And sometimes if you have a pretty low viewership, 10 viewers or so, that could be a good game for you to go and kind of stretch your legs in and go meet those 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 new viewers that you wouldn't have met if you didn't go stream Bayonetta. And then 1 or 2 or 3 of those people, they follow your channel and then they follow you to the next game, especially with the transition thing. If you figure out like a good way to transition from Bayonetta to something else. Bayonetta's like almost like a Souls game that's very fast paced. Like it's you could take probably Bayonetta viewers to Dark Souls or Bloodborne. It's not that far off. You could definitely take them to Devil May Cry or
Aesthetically, Bayonetta has avenues you could pursue. Gameplay wise, it has different avenues you could pursue, like to take people to the next game. Like there are a lot of things you need to consider when trying to transition out of a game, and things like beyond gameplay are good to kind of keep in mind as well.
Yeah,
I think Bayonetta has a lot of that.
And I think we touched on this recently, but also like you said with Bayonetta, especially like you do kind of have to, when you're looking at a category, you have to pay attention to, like Meat said, how many people follow this category, but also like how many people are streaming. Because if there's a lot of people streaming it, but there's like 10 viewers and like 20 people streaming it, like that's probably dead. But if there's like nobody streaming, if literally nobody's streaming that thing, it doesn't necessarily mean it's dead.
Right.
It could just mean nobody's watching because there's literally
no one is
providing it. Nobody's providing that good to the market. So it's like,
or there's only one streamer and their audio sucks and like they're not reading chat and they're AFK for 20 minutes. It's
some guy who has his camera pointed at the screen like Fortnite. Absolutely. I think for sure. And then like Ty kind of said, like for certain games, like Bayonetta, I'll just continue using this example. There are avenues that you could take, right? Because like there are some games that are just so like broad and they have such mass market appeal that if you do it right, you can deflect to any other kind of genre. You can deflect to any other kind of game. Playing off Bayonetta, you could easily take people who watch Bayonetta and take them to Resident Evil. You can easily take them to Devil May Cry. You can easily take them to Souls. You can take them to retro if you like playing some Super Metroid and stuff like that.
Bayonetta's almost a retro game at this point.
Almost retro game itself. Yeah. Any other PS1 game or PS2 game.
Yeah.
You could probably take Castlevania. You could probably take a bunch of Bayonetta viewers, show them Soul Reaver, and blow their minds because they've never played it before.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Another thing,
like tonally, those are very similar as well.
Yeah.
Another thing to think about too is the kind of gravitas of a first playthrough versus just a casual playthrough and like how you market that. So I think there are games that that are fairly popular, but people will gravitate towards first playthroughs. So like, or at least the beginning of first playthroughs. I should add that caveat, and we might have time to talk about like fading viewership later in games. But like Hollow Knight is, if you have 20-ish viewers, you will get people coming in for Hollow Knight if you mark it as a first playthrough, because people want to watch you react to it. Soulsborne games, because what a lot of people say is, oh my gosh, I wish I could have that feeling of playing the game for the first time again, right? So if you're able to market that first playthrough and you're in a sweet spot of your baseline viewership, you can really benefit from that. But of course, there's a timing issue to playing it when you have enough people that you won't be at the bottom of the category, right? But being able to bring those people in, like really excited to watch a first playthrough.
Yeah, timing is really important. This is actually kind of the next thing we wanted to talk about anyway. So, if you were to choose a game like, a lot of people think the holidays are the right times to do things, and that
Yep.
I think the holiday choice makes more sense if you've already got 30 to 60 viewers. Like you're in that 30, 40, 50, 60 viewer range. It's much easier to slide into the Halloween themes and go into the holiday themes. But if you're a 10 viewer streamer and you're like, it's spooky time, I'm going to play a spooky game, it's just kind of obvious. And now you're competing with the 60 viewer streamer who's doing the same thing.
I have some opinions on that.
Okay, let's go, Snazzy. Hit us.
Some of you are not going to like what I have to say.
I like it already.
Spooky game month is BS. I'm not gonna actually curse on
For
stream.
everyone?
I'm gonna be playing a spooky game. But
Here's
also
why.
no.
Here's why getting into like a month-long spree of like scary games for Halloween is to me at least a bad idea. Everyone does that. Especially the big streamers. They change their emotes
Correct.
to do this whole month of spooky games. You're not going to compete with that. To me, there is no reason to spend an entire month playing potentially something that is completely different from what you normally do, potentially disruptive to your community, simply to hit the spooky thing. I get it
I
playing
agree.
it on Halloween, right? I get it on or the week before Halloween. I get that. But an entire month, I think you have to really kind of analyze and look at, is this, you still have to like apply your normal game selection metrics to whatever you're doing. It's not just, because it's spooky month, right?
The other thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say real quick, and then I'll hand it to you, Meats. The other thing here is people who love scary games like them all year.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
true.
Resident Evil fans don't care what month it is.
Yeah, I found that when I did a jump scare July, and so I
great.
did Alien Isolation, which is a popular spooky game, and it was a really good time to do it, right? Because it wasn't part of the theme. So my thought is to if you have the community, to try to play into some of those things, but don't make it like I said, 180. Right, October 1st, and be like, it's spooky time. Like, you're absolutely right. But I think having one spooky game in the month, right, if it fits with your theme and your community, like if you do spooky games periodically, I think that's really cool. But absolutely, I think that you're potentially alienating your community, but also your opportunity for growth is kind of limited because everyone else is doing it.
Mm-hmm. And you're hoping for the raid. You know.
Or not even the raid. You're hoping for the people who are like, a stream wraps up. Maybe they raid, maybe they don't. But now those people are still hungry for a scary game, right? Or it's hungry for a specific scary game.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping that then they'll stumble onto you playing that game, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I think the same principles apply, though, right? Thinking about, okay, is there a kind of a popular spooky game that I can first play that fits the standard viewership that I have? That could be a really good resource for growth. Right. So not just playing a really popular, scary game that you're going to be at the bottom of the list for. So really being
Yeah.
strategic about it if growth is part of your goals.
I have a counter to Snazzy's point, because like, yes, in October everybody is jumping on the spooky game train, right? Because tis the season. But then that just kind of shifts the discovery metrics a little bit, right? Because just because it's October, it doesn't mean everybody's playing every horror game that exists. And
True.
it doesn't even have to be horror. It can be thematically
Gothic, dark.
gothic, right? Like last year I played Doom 2016 for spooky months just because it's got demons and gore. Like, and so when October comes, everybody is always playing Outlast and Visage and Alien Isolation and like the same like 10 games that everybody plays because it's spooky month. But there are hundreds of other games that you could go to try and get something out of and still stay thematic, because I do think people want to experience those kinds of games during this time of year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Like-
it also depends on how you do in spooky games. So, like, if you are someone who's entertaining when you play horror games, like if you're someone who just doesn't jump scare or like is just totally straight face, like not entertaining, like some people just really aren't reactive. But if you're really reactive, if you're really entertaining while playing a horror game, then you should probably be playing horror games more than just in October, right?
Isn't that a skill?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think that's a skill all streamers should work on, though, is being able to allow themselves to be pulled into any game and react to it properly. And if you're not going to react to a scary game because you've decided to have some kind of thick skin about scary games, then that nobody wants to watch that, you know. And that might hurt you as a streamer if you approach any game that way. If you're just like, unless you're speedrunner, they just like deadpan speedrun and try to, that could be great.
You're not there for the personality.
Yeah, maybe if you don't have the ability to like shed the shell and be like, okay, I don't like get super scared at horror, but I love horror and I love horror movies and horror games. And when I play a horror game, I put I don't use like earbuds. I put on full headphones. I turn the game volume way up. I turn the lights down and put candles on, and I like take my time and I allow myself to be spooked. You can do that. I think most people can do that. They can like become a little bit vulnerable to the game and try to allow it to scare them. I mean, I know people who love scary things, and there's like, that wasn't scary. I'm not scared. I'm just like, you're just fronting. Like we all have to become vulnerable, with the thing. And streamers who can open themselves up to the experience, you're going to be able to figure out how to make your stream open up to your audience and your viewers as well. So that's something to consider. Let's move to the last little topic here, which was when people pressure you, other streamers and viewers pressure you into playing X game. And you play a game because people want you to. This kind of goes with the game selection thing, because you end up playing a game for the worst reason, which is just somebody said to. They didn't, like, a not thought out thing, not like somebody like another.
Not like Bayonetta.
Yeah, there's like thought behind Bayonetta, like, hey, go stream Bayonetta. If it's just somebody that's like, have you played this game? It's my favorite game. I want you to play it so badly, and it is a dead game, or you're really not going to get any viewership out of it. It's only going to be a good idea once you have 600 viewers that will watch you do anything, and because you can afford to just play whatever at that point.
Yep.
So peer pressure is a big thing on Twitch. The viewer pressure is a big thing. People want you're their favorite streamer. They want you to play their favorite game. Yeah. Have you all dealt with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have someone consistently trying to get me to play Titanfall 2, like every time I talk to them.
That's the entire conversation. This is
Yeah,
quite
pretty
a
much.
friendship.
Have you played Titanfall 2?
What a relationship. Yeah.
It's the equivalent of that one Yahoo at a show who's yelling Freebird. Like,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Like they went to go see Coheed and Cambria, and they're asking them to play Pantera. You're like, we don't take requests. We're Coheed and Cambria.
yeah.
So, Snazzy, what's your experience with this?
My experience with this is okay. So there are times when it is appropriate to do that, right? If a whole bunch of people are coming to you and saying, "Hey, this game's up your alley. Hey, I wanted you to play this game," right? If there's a considerable chunk of people all at once telling you, "Hey, this game might be good for you. This might be entertaining. You might be able to pull this off nice." Sometimes the crowd is right? Sometimes the crowd knows what they want. But at other times, if like you said, there's one person, right, who's the one guy who's, "Oh, you need to play this. It's my favorite game. So it'll be your favorite game, right? Because it's my favorite game." I think the important thing when it comes to viewer pressure, and also this kind of extends to streamer pressure as well. When other streamers are pressuring you to play a game, it's you have to be able to a degree to kind of, I don't want to say feign interest, but you do have to still sound like you're curious without, even if you're not necessarily planning to play it. You can't just outright be like, "No, I don't want to play that. That's stupid. I don't want to do that."
Huge turnoff.
Yeah, it's a huge turnoff. So you have to handle it delicately. Whenever somebody comes at you like that, you gotta very gentle touch that thing away. From my experience,
it's their favorite thing.
Yeah, it's their favorite thing.
Every time somebody like asks me to play something or tells me you should try this game or whatever, I put it on the list of possibilities. Like, I never commit to anything, but I don't outright deny it either.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that we've tried before and didn't enjoy. But like, generally, I'll put it on the list as a possibility, and we may get to it and we may not. But
Right.
It's an option.
Right. What about you, Pickles? Have you had streamers pressure you into choosing a game?
There's this one guy that I mod for. He's a bald, beard, glasses. His name is Snazzy Bastard, and he consistently tells me that I need to play Sekiro a lot. Like, every time I bring it up,
I bully him every day.
You should.
See, okay, so now I got two people.
No, it's the streamer
Two,
right
pressure.
here. But no, like in a serious sense, no, nobody really like tells me, "Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that," because most of the people I hang out with share the same mentality that I do when approaching game selection, which is a lot of you guys. So, like, I've never had streamer pressure outside of the jokes from Snazzy and stuff. So.
Yeah, I have
jokes. Let's call them that. Yeah,
jokes.
What about you,
Jokes.
Meats? What's your experience with this?
I don't know, Snazzy. Have you ever pressured? I'm kidding. I think I do have a couple community members that are like, very enthusiastic about certain games or bring things up, but I've been super understanding, and I do feel that the Soulsborne community is really interesting in that sense, where I've been a longtime fan, short-time participant in the Soulsborne community, and there's a couple really wonderful people that are super supportive and really encouraging to kind of start going down that problematic path, if you will, of things like challenge runs and such. But never in a place of like forcefulness. And I think, that's a little bit of a different situation in that if there's a community and the community has started to be a part of your community and is supporting your growth in certain areas that are adjacent, then that could be something to really consider, right?
True.
And I think also like again, this is where research comes in. You have to know that for certain games, if you play certain games, and if you start kind of building a viewership off of those games, you are eventually gonna have to feel the question of, okay, well, when are you playing? Why? Perfect example: if you play Dark Souls 1, you are inevitably inevitably someone's going to come up to you and go, hey, you know what's better than Dark Souls? Bloodborne, right? Or Dark Souls 3, like,
Dark Souls
because
2.
no one says that. But yeah, so like you do sometimes have to be like, if you're going into a game that has a reputation, you have to then also be cognizant that at some point somebody's going to go like, well, you play this, does that mean you'll also play Y? And sometimes that's the right equation for you, and sometimes it's not, and you just have to, I think you have to kind of think about that ahead of time so you don't get caught off guard, right? Because if somebody comes up to you and goes like, hey, well, you played Dark Souls, you're going to play Bloodborne now, I feel like it's better to have I hate to say it, a canned answer,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that means you thought about how you're going to answer this question before people asked.
Yeah.
You should, in like a blanket statement regarding all game selection, you should always be aware of the people and the type of community that follow that game are going into it, so you can just be prepared for what may come, and then how to have an exit strategy, quote unquote. I don't mean that in a negative way, but like just the exit strategy, like transition to other games, or if you don't want to do X, Y, Z afterwards.
Mhm.
Just knowing the community surrounding the game is incredibly important, I feel.
Yeah.
How to jump off the slippery slope of challenge runs before you end up being a hit list runner.
Without even saying it, you guys all kind of said it, but I think the general takeaway is, don't do something because you're told to. Figure out why you should do it and consider doing it. Not it's don't be too quick to say no, and don't be too quick to say yes. Basically, like you want to be well thought out about this stuff. And there are games that people will suggest that you probably should stream. And there are games that you might think that you don't like, you won't like, until you play it. And I think everyone is better off when they figure out that they don't like something because they played it, not before they played it. Like I've had a lot of conversations with streamers where they're like, I'm not gonna like that game. Isn't that game this game is that weird? It's that weird game with that weird thing and that weird character. I'm not really into X. And then it's like, okay, but then they go play like the exact kind of game. Like if I were to suggest Bayonetta and they would have a poo-poo answer, I don't think I'd like it. And then they go play Devil May Cry, and I'm like,
it's basically the same game.
This is the same game, just one of them has a trench coat.
You just told me last month you don't think you'll like Bayonetta, but you're playing Devil May Cry. Or whatever, just pick any Platinum game.
And also, like, kind of a corollary to this, though, like, the other thing is, especially if you're, and this applies to anybody who's like, if you're taking your stream seriously because it's a profit endeavor for you, right? I'm definitely of the mind that sometimes if there's an event that causes a game to be popular and causes it to be in your range, even if it's a game you don't like, you may have to play it, right? But there are ways to be entertaining and engaging, even if you don't like the game you're playing. And that could easily just be like you just pointing out all the things you don't like about the game. Some of a couple people that I know played Majora's Mask, hated the game, but that was part of the funny. Is because they all ended up hating the game in the end.
There's more value in disliking something that you've actually experienced too.
Yes.
Just hating something because you just decided, that's not for me. Like it makes your opinion on the subject kind of weak. And when you're an influencer or you're in this streamer space, you're gonna have an easier time defending your position. If you're like, I played Majora's Mask, I played it all the way through. I didn't like it that much. It was really weak in this way, and now you can actually discuss what's bad about it.
Yeah, and I can raise my valid points as to why I don't like that game at all.
Yeah, you need
Here's why God of War sucks.
Yeah. And in some ways, it's like being a movie reviewer. You have to watch all the movies, even the bad ones, to review them. And as being a streamer, one of the bigger parts, the value that you bring to being a streamer is being able to discuss games. And if you have no place to discuss them and you're just constantly poo-pooing everything that's not Fortnite or Minecraft, then you're gonna have a much harder time connecting with a wider audience. People are gonna come in and be like, Bayonetta's my favorite game. Have you played Bayonetta? And like, nah, that game's stupid. I'm not gonna play that game. And it's just like, oh,
Her hair is her clothes. What's up with that?
Yeah,
You can't even craft in that game. What is
Yeah.
this? Like,
There's no building at all.
Polygons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a battle royale. I don't play those.
that's
So-
not
There
although
are not enough halos in this one.
Capcom, if you're listening, Bayonetta Battle Royale. I mean,
there's some space for
Crossover.
that. Yeah.
yeah,
How
just
about,
throw in,
how
like,
about a
Devil May Cry
Resident
characters
Evil
in
battle royale?
oh my god.
Where if
They-
you die, you become a zombie, so you get 2 lives.
They kind of did two almost versions of that in the last 2 games, I think.
Almost versions. Yeah.
Almost. They didn't go full battle royale, but there was
It's not any more ridiculous than having Phoenix Wright in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah.
Phoenix Wright in Marvel vs. Capcom is great. Okay, he's one of my mains. You get out of here.
All right, so let's just wrap up. I'm going to do a quick summary, and then you guys can give us your final thoughts on all this stuff.
Sure.
So basically, you want to hype up. We didn't really cover this too much, but you do want to try to create some hype if you're going to move games, if you're going to start a new game, if you're going to do a blind through of a game. You have to sell it to your audience. So if you're doing an art stream, or you're doing a retro stream, or you're doing whatever, a model building stream, you need to be able to pitch the next thing that's not that thing that you're doing to your audience. And so get some hype going, get people excited. I've never played Resident Evil before. I'm gonna do a blind playthrough of Resident. I'm gonna play the PlayStation 1 version, then I'm gonna play the Nintendo DS version. Then you got to create some hype around this stuff and get people kind of interested. Sell your next stream, the starting the thing. If you're gonna play a game, try to give it a good run. Don't go too long, because then you kill it, and that and then the only people who will stick around are the people that like that game.
What do you mean? We spent 4 months playing Final Fantasy 15 because we enjoyed every second of it.
Every second.
Dead games are not always dead, so be careful about rejecting a game because you think nobody's going to watch. You have to be careful when you're playing a series, or and you're transitioning from one game to another. And you want to make sure that you understand who's going to leave, because it's not a Souls-like or a rogue-like or whatever it is. And then so you have to be aware of your transitions in and out of games. Make the time that you choose to play the game, well thought out. Have a good reason to do it.
Yeah, and that's like a more general timing, not just like time of day, but like time of after release, when interest is renewed, all of that. Just like
not just
general
holidays.
timing.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
a Steam sale, that kind of things can drive traffic.
A patch, an update.
Yeah.
Because when there's a on
announced
Game
sequel.
Pass, and when Epic's giving away a free game, people are browsing those games, even if the category is not like
Steam
popping.
sales are a big one.
And
Yeah.
even if just some bigger streamers are playing a game that normally doesn't see a lot of play, that could reinvigorate a community. So
Yep, and don't let people peer pressure you into doing things. Just take it into consideration. That's the summary.
that's
Don't-
the summary.
Also,
Don't
one
let your
other thing.
viewers, don't let your viewers choose the games for you. Period.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Don't let.
just
It's
say,
your
"All right,
stream.
guys, you
It's-
decide.
Just don't.
It's
The
your
last
stream.
point.
Go
The
ahead.
last point I think you should also add is find a source of community continuity. 'Cause
Right.
I think that was a big thing that we talked about too.
It is. That's true. So that is true. Find a way to create roots. Anybody else? You guys have each Snazzy. You want to wrap anything up? Do you have anything else you want to add?
Let's see. No, I mean, my thing would just be like, at the end of the day, as much as this is a technical discussion, as much as it's an analytical discussion about like how to grow your stream, how to grow your viewers, how to get more people. At the end of the day, you should still have fun streaming.
Yeah.
Right. It shouldn't become this thing where you're dreading turning on OBS because like, oh crap, I got to play this game tonight and I don't want to. Right. Like, it's okay to quit games. It's okay to put games on hold. the most important thing is you still have to, on some level, enjoy what you're doing. Because if you don't, that'll show. That'll 100% that'll show through the stream, no matter how hard you try to hide it. So, at the end of the day, make sure that it's still something that you feel comfortable with and that you want to do, and that it's not basically becoming another chore that you have to do.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Meats this time. Meats, what do you have?
I mean, we said so many great things. I think, being thoughtful about the numbers is really important, but not like hyper focusing. Kind of to Snazzy's point is like, if you want to grow, there's there's not one formula, right? And I think that's what we always talk about here, but really thinking about where am I, what's going to be a good fit for today, for right now, for this game, for this, path that I'm trying to take. And there are places to find that data if you want to look, right? So being thoughtful about what that data helps you with, but not living by the data either. Finding that balance.
Okay, Pickles, you get the last word here.
Better be good.
Educate yourselves on the games you want to choose, not just on what the game is about, but what the game means to people, what the game has meant historically, what is coming out related to the game, all of that. Just educate yourself. Know as much as you can. Go down the rabbit holes. Find other games that are like that game. Find through lines. Like, this is the same developer, even though it's a totally different style of game. Like, just educate yourself.
And what's a great place to go educate yourself and get connected with other streamers?
Infinite Quality.
InfiniteQuality.live. That's right.
Yeah.
Listen to these podcasts. Go check out our YouTube videos and apply to become a member at InfiniteQuality.live. So visit InfiniteQuality.live if anyone is interested in joining our community. And man, that was a good episode. Thank you guys so much. I
did think of one more thing though.
Oh, okay. You get the last
Snazzy
word.
wants the last word.
Snazzy
Okay.
gets
No,
the last
I
word.
literally I thought of it while Meats was talking. I was hoping that Pickles would pick up on him, but he didn't. No, just real quick, for streamers out there, just because it worked for your streamer friend doesn't mean it'll work for you.
True.
It's different.
True.
Very different.
Yeah.
We're all
There's
different
all
people.
kinds. I bet you we could talk for another hour on this. I got stuff too. So anyway, thank you guys. I'll be back on Friday with Casual Fridays, which is kind of just a general community discussion, almost like a podcast. So that's check out the YouTube videos. Go to InfiniteQuality.live, and that's the show. Thanks everybody in chat for joining. And if you guys want to join us while we do this live, we do it live Wednesdays, twitch.tv/InfiniteQualityLive. I say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a good time.
See you later.
I can't do the Family Guy. Whatever is the Herbert, whatever his name is.